Hi, I'm Emily. I'm a writer and an artist. I've written a couple books. One is Divination with a Human Heart Attached. That's a poetry book. And also Surfacing, which is a book of closing practices for creative writers. This is basically like my favorite practice, simple practice that I do at the end of my writing sessions. And writing has always been a really big part of my life and my major like art practice. But things have been shifting for me in recent years. And I think I've just come up on different tensions in my practice and different things that life has asked for, different things my body has asked for in terms of what I pay attention to. And so I've been moving into some new spaces with my art, and I'm going to start sharing that under the name Ironweed Arts, ironweed being my favorite native flower. So what you're seeing here in this video is just me sharing one of my really, really early attempts at some of my block prints. I picked up linocut last year when I just needed a different way of kind of meeting myself as an artist and thinking about things, processing things. I was kind of just feeling the limits of what words could do. And I kept hearing myself say, like in conversations with artist friends or with people who know and love me, like I just kind of wish I'd been born a painter instead or an artist instead of a writer, because I just was feeling like hyperverbalness and a bunch of words and thinking through things once, living through them once, and then having to relive them over and over again on the page was getting to be kind of taxing in some unexpected ways, challenging. Both because of what was happening in the world in terms of, what's happening in Palestine and how the writing community was meeting that, and just like my sort of disenchantment there with some of the people in my circles and frustration and not knowing what to do with that kind of grief and feeling like writing about it wasn't the way that I was supposed to feel through it and process it. And then last year, my dad also got diagnosed with cancer, and he's doing well now, but that was after some other really difficult things that had happened. And so that just was another big thing, all these things hitting at once that kind of, I think sometimes writers turn to writing as like, hey, this is the thing that's my catharsis and gets me through. For me, it's never actually been a very cathartic kind of process. It's has some other roles in my life, but I don't really write for that kind of catharsis feeling. So I wasn't, in some ways, I'm not surprised that I didn't feel like that was the right place or the true place to be processing all this, like this level of grief and change and everything. So I'm someone who kind of needs really tactile things to reground myself. As an artist and a writer, that's always been true. If I'm feeling really lost in my practice, one of the first things I do is try and touch something, like actually move furniture in my space or reorganize a pile of raw material and papers. Those are the kind of things that kind of bring me back down into my feet and out of my head. So it just kind of made sense to pick up linocut and play with printmaking. One, because it is so tactile, and that's just like very intuitive for me and the way I kind of most prefer to process big stuff. And then also because like I had loved this form for a really long time. I've always liked block printing. I've liked pattern work, and I've liked line work and things with this art form. I like how intuitive it looks, how organic the shapes can be. I like how I really like that it's imperfect. I like that you can't really control it too much. It has a mind of its own depending on, how your hand moves in relationship to the material, depending on the shape you're working with, depending on how the ink is going to play with you that day. And these are things I've appreciated these nuances in linocut artists that I've enjoyed the work of. But actually it was one of those things where it's like, I need to just try this myself and stop just saying that I need another form and that I'm running out of words and feeling the weight of things with no way of dealing with them. I need to just try it. And pretty much like as soon as I tried it, I was like, this feels very natural and very much like what I need in this moment. So I've had about a year of exploring it, experimenting with it, and I'm sharing it like really on a limited basis with folks, because I think anytime you're picking up a new form and like really picking it up just for yourself, there's that like excitement, and I almost like the show and tell excitement of, oh, look what I'm trying, but also the nervousness and maybe hesitation of like, I just want this to be for me for a while and it doesn't have to become a thing for other people. So that's kind of how I've been traveling with it. And now I feel more ready and I guess excited for the right reasons, you know, to share some of my process and share the ways it's going to be hopefully becoming more of a conscious like main practice for me in 2025. So that's what I'm going to be doing in the weeks and months ahead here in this space, is just like sharing from that practice, thinking about how it intersects with, you know, other forms of and practices like writing, and by no means like giving up my writing. I think it's probably going to morph as I try new shapes and forms and look to get more tactile. I'm really lucky to live basically in the backyard of an amazing Michigan treasure. I live in northern Michigan, and I live like right in Gwen Frostic's neck of the woods. And if you don't know who Gwen Frostic is, I would totally encourage you to check her out. Her work in this form is, I just love it. It's like, it's probably one of the first versions of it that I ran into that I was like, oh, I think this just speaks to me, like as someone who loves art, but then eventually as like, I need to try this someday. So I really love her work, and I love the way that she includes poetry in it, and I'm sure that has a huge influence on why it kind of felt right to me, especially last year as I was looking for some ways through a tough year. So yeah, I'm really fortunate to live in northern Michigan, in the same county where Gwen did her work, where her studio still is and is still running and producing her work. And yeah, so hopefully I can share more stuff like that here. Things like Gwen Frostic, other artists that I've been exploring. And yeah, I'll just be using this as a space to share, to talk about the process, do some version of, I guess, my version of studio vlogging. This is, as a writer who has not been able to have a visual process that I can easily share with folks. I mean, it's really hard to, I think, bring people into like a studio space if you're like revising a poetry manuscript. But it's different with something like this, something like block printing, linocut, where you can actually show the process like I am in this video. So thank you for coming along with me for this first one. This is really just my hello, and I look forward to sharing more soon. Bye.